Call to order the regular meeting of the Dickinson City Commission for Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. Let the record show we're missing one commissioner, Commissioner Frederick. Our opening ceremonies will be the Pledge of Allegiance, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be presented this evening by Troop 86710, who are second-year cadets. Please approach the podium and help us with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies, you want to introduce yourselves to the audience?
I'm Adriana Wald.
I'm Katie Massey.
I'm Sammy Massey. I'm Bailey White.
Well, thank you so much for doing the pledge for us this evening. Is there anything else?
We have cookies for you guys.
Uh-oh. Oh, wow. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, they can. If ladies, would you like to come up and get a picture with the City Commission? All right. Come on up. We just scooch down here. Why don't you guys just come up and come behind us here, and you can stand in between us. And there you go. There you go.
Maybe each one of you stand like between each.
Just find your favorite commissioner. I know you have your favorite. So. All right. Thank you so much. Yep. We'll move into the order of business. And the order of business, Mr. Dossinger, are there any changes to the order of business?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Commission. There's no change to the order of business this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions on the order of business?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second?
With a second, any further discussion on the order of business? Hearing none, all in favor of the order of business as presented, state aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item up is the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that commissioners wish to discuss? Hearing no discussion on the consent agenda, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second?
second by Commissioner Sobeluk. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Mrs. Sobeluk?
Aye.
Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. We'll move into administration and finance. First item this evening, we have Memorial Park renaming, and this will be presented by City Administrator Dossinger.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the Commission. Before you this evening is a proposal regarding the name change of Memorial Park to Veterans Memorial Park. This proposal has been carefully considered and approved by the Park Board during their meeting in February. After thorough review and discussion, City staff highly recommends the implementation of this name change. This would be Resolution 18-2024.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions for Mr. Dossinger on renaming the park, the Memorial Park, to Veterans Memorial Park?
Mr. President, I would just have a comment.
Mr. Oderman?
It's about time. It seems like
Well-
that's kind of what it is and has been for a very long time, so just good to finally change the name.
And the veterans organizations have done an amazing job up there between the
have.
building and the memorial, and Some of the other things that are coming down the pipe, I know they're talking expanding the parking lot there, and they just moved that tank in, and they're doing a lot of good things up there. So I think it is fitting. So, any other discussion? If not, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman.
Aye.
Mrs. Sobeluk.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Next thing up, Mr. Dossinger, we have some gaming site authorizations. The first one is the American Legion Matthew Brew Post.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the commission. We have a gaming site authorization request from the American Legion Matthew Brew Post number 3. This is located at the Sanford Grub and Pub, which is, address is 167 14th Street West. The effective date of this would be July 1st of 2024 through June 30th of 2025. This would be for electronic pull tab devices and pull tab dispensing devices. City staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions on the American Legion gaming site authorization? There are no questions. I'd look for a motion.
I'd move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Sobeluk.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mrs. Sobeluk,
Aye.
Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Our next gaming site is the St. Anthony's Club. Mr. Dossinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a gaming site request authorization for the Brotherhood of St. Anthony, which is located at the St. Anthony Club at 105 First Street Southeast. This has the effective date of July 1st of 2024 through June 30th of 2025. This will be for bingo, raffles, pull tab jar, and electronic pull tab devices. City staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions on the St. Anthony site? Hearing no questions, I'd look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Oderman,
Second?
second by Commissioner Sobeluk. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Oderman,
Aye.
Mrs. Sobeluk,
Aye.
Dr. Bear.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. And our last site this evening is the Fort Abraham Lincoln Foundation site. Mr. Dossinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. As stated, this is a gaming site authorization request for the Fort Abraham Lincoln Foundation, which is located at the Paragon at 1125 West Villard. Effective dates are also July 1st of 2024 through June 30th of 2025. This will be for pull tab jars, pull tab dispensing devices, electronic pull tab devices, and 21. City staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions on the gaming site for Fort Abraham Lincoln at the Champs location? Hearing no questions, I'd look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Oderman,
Second?
second by Commissioner Sobeluk. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Oderman,
Aye.
Mrs. Sobeluk,
Aye.
Dr. Bear.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. We'll move right into our HR discussion this evening. We have a health equity plan document, and this will be presented by HR Director Nominuk. Welcome.
Thank you, President Decker and Commissioners. First off, I have a resolution before you to repeal the existing cafeteria plan and adopting a cafeteria plan, including the health flexible spending account and the dependent care flexible spending account offered through Health Equity. And city staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mrs. Nominuk. Any discussion? This should be Resolution 19-2024. Any discussion on the repeal and of the old plan and bringing aboard this new plan? I think
This-
there was documentation provided to everyone.
Yeah, Ms. Namik, I would just ask that you kind of just provide highlights of any significant changes.
Sure. So just some of the reasons for us switching this plan. We have started using a benefits platform for our open enrollment for new hires and for annual open enrollment. The company that we were using previously did not allow for a file feed, an electronic file feed through this program. So that was kind of the reason we were looking for something else. We had a lot of employees that were not real happy with the plan. They had some problems getting claims submitted and that sort of thing. And then we also found that we were able to save a little bit of money by switching this plan over. So with those three reasons, we thought it was prudent for us to make the change, and that's why we are here with this resolution.
All right, thank you. Again, this is Resolution 19-2024. It is a resolution repealing the existing cafeteria plan and adopting a cafeteria plan including a health flexible spending account and dependent care flexible spending account.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Bear?
Ms. Dominic, quick question. Have you heard about heard anything about the new plan? How good is it from anybody else who is currently using it? I mean, will it be better than the plan the city currently has?
So far,
How well does it work?
Yeah, so far I haven't heard any negative comments, I would say. I'll be honest, years ago, we had a flexible spending account that did not require any receipts, substantiation of receipts, which is not really a thing anymore. So when we switched to our last one, they required everything be substantiated with a receipt, which was a complete shock and very cumbersome to staff. This company really does their homework on that. So they'll go out and research your receipts and what you're submitting money for, to make sure that it's a reason that you could be using flexible spending for. So they're doing the homework before they're just saying, I want a receipt for this. So it's really, really cut down the number of receipts that have been needed and way less cumbersome for the staff.
Okay. And it doesn't take away anybody's current care?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments? Not, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman.
Aye.
Ms. Sobeluk.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Mrs. Dominic, you get to stay right there, right? You got a HR monthly report.
Yes, thank you again. First off, on our hiring journal is the police officer positions. We've been making a few hires. We have currently Matthew Shogun, I think is how you say it, hired. We have a couple in background. Anthony Mauser was hired as a lateral, and another in, I guess that's records. So we currently have about 5 openings, I believe, still in police officers, so we're still working on that.
Yeah, last name, I just know this because I put his dad in the guard. It's Shagun.
Shogun,
Shogun.
okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Records clerk, we have 1 in background, so we have made a hire there. Animal control, also 1 in the background stage. Public safety telecommunicator, we made a hire to Breanne Jones. She was just started this week and did her orientation. Public safety telecommunicator 2, we have in the background, our interview stage. Fleet shop technician, they actually have an interview set up for tonight or tomorrow night after work. So we'll see if we can get going on that. Street maintenance operator, we've got 3 openings and they are interviewing for those. Solid waste operator, we had several openings, actually 4. Jesus, Jace were hired externally. Kaylee Ryan was transferred from the scale She was recently a scale attendant, and then we have one more in the background stage. Scale service representative, we are in the interview stage since Kaylee took that position. Limited hour library page, hired Maya and Cameron, and then one in the background. Project engineer, we are in the offer stage, so hoping to get that person started and offer signed real soon. Engineering tech, hired Waylon, he did start this week. Seasonal paleontology assistant, that was filled with Daniela. And as I've mentioned before, we have now put all of our volunteer positions for the museum on our website. So there's volunteers for general, history, paleo, and field work. We hired an administrative assistant for Public Works, Caitlin, and she has been working for us, I think, this couple weeks now. Utility operator, hired Avery Dutton. He was a transfer from the street department, went over to the utility department. And then all of our seasonal positions, we've been working hard at trying to get those back from last year. Looks like we're getting 8 back for the buildings and grounds department, so we'll have 4 to fill there. Water, I think they filled all of them with seasonals from last year. Forestry, we have 1 in the background from last year, so we'll need to hire 2 more. And then a seasonal programming assistant for marketing for Legacy Square, and they're working on getting interviews set up for that. We've had interviews this week for our court positions, clerk of court, and offer was made, so we're in the background stage on that position. And then the deputy clerk of court, I believe they were doing the interviews today for that one. And I will stand for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mrs. Nominick. Any questions on the monthly HR report? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll move into Public Works. We have a sole source sweeper purchase, and Mr. Public Works Director Prouse will be presenting.
Good evening, President and Commissioners. City of Dickinson Public Works Street Department would like to purchase an Elgin Pelican sweeper based off of a Sourcewell contracting bid. Sourcewell is a competitive contract solution that solicits and purchasing quotes nationally. It's recognized throughout the state of North Dakota by several government agencies and cities that have used this company for purchasing their equipment. Sanitation Products is the vendor for Elgin Pelican sweepers. They put together a quote based on the Sourcewell contract for $278,413 for the sweeper that we're looking at purchasing. This is a 2024 capital purchase item where $280,000 was budgeted on a 7-year lease. We do currently have 3 of these units in our fleet. The plan was to replace one of those 3 units, but with all of the new staff we're hiring, we'd like to keep all 3 units, add this as a 4th unit, and utilize the oldest one for a training machine for the new staff. I'm open to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Prouse. Any questions on the Pelican sweeper? There are no questions. I'd look for a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve the purchase of the Pelican sweeper by Commissioner Oderman,
Second?
second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Oderman.
Aye.
Dr. Bear.
Aye.
Mrs. Sobeluk.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Prouse.
Mr. President,
Dr. Bear.
before Mr. Prowse gets all the way back there, can you come back up a second? I noted when I came into the, through the lobby today, there was a sign on the board regarding shredded paper. Obviously, this is becoming an issue with people with putting shredded paper in the recycle bins. I was just wondering if you could take this opportunity to let the public know what you would prefer versus what they are doing, because not everybody sees what's on that board. So I was just wondering if you would mind just a quick summary of what Waste Management would prefer would happen to shredded paper.
Absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out, Dr. Bear. Shredded paper is actually a contamination source for all of our recycling. You put it in bags, but as these bags are going through the processing at the MRF that we take our recycling materials to, they tear open and they contaminate because they're so fine and they're just shreds. They contaminate all the other materials that are going through. So the MRF themselves would require or ask that we do not take shredded paper as a single stream recycling in our recycling containers. What we have done in the past, or what we have been doing, is if they bring it out to the Baylor building, we actually have a roll-off bin set up to where we can dispose of it there. If there's a market for it, shredded paper market has kind of been all over the last year and a half right now with prices. Matter of fact, to the point of where it wasn't even a commodity, it was a negative value. And we don't produce enough of that. We don't have any shredded paper coming through. There's one contractor here in Dickinson that brings shredded paper to us, but they also have a baler and they bale their own material and then they ship it off. If you can ship it in the full semi-loads, there's value to it, but in our situation, we don't have enough material coming in to where we can capture that value. So we recommend to leave it out of this garbage or out of the recycling can, and if you don't have much, just go ahead and put it into the garbage cans because it is a dead commodity to us once we ship our materials to the MRF. It actually comes back as a waste stream on our end.
Okay.
So
Basically, don't stuff the boxes or tissue boxes or cereal boxes with shred paper and put it in the recycle bin. Throw it in the garbage can.
correct.
You're not helping the city any.
And no, like I said, it's actually costing us a little bit more because of the waste stream. It falls into the waste stream on that side. Along with that, the second one that we've been noticing a little increase in as well, now that you brought that up, is our glass. We do have a recycling program. We're not supposed to be running glass through the commingle single stream.
Okay.
Same reason. The glass bottles shatter, they break in the trucks and in the shipping equipment, and it just contaminates all the recycling materials at the MRF.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prowse. Thank you, Commissioner Bear, for bringing that up, and I think that's important, especially when continuing this program, that we don't get docked. Okay, we'll move into community development, and this will be presented by City County Planner Josephson. We have a future land use map amendment.
Thank you, President Decker. Commissioner, this is Steve Josephson. And the two applications that we have here are linked. The future land use, the rezoning application is contingent upon the future land use map amendment being approved. The first one is a request to change the future land use map from industrial to agricultural. This is the second hearing on this proposed amendment. There have been no changes since since the first reading of this, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Josephson. Like Mr. Steve said, the second reading of ordinance 1794. There are no changes since the first reading. If you have any questions, commissioners? Not, I look for a motion.
I'd move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Oderman,
Second?
second by Commissioner Sobeluk. Any further discussion on 1794? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Oderman,
Aye.
Ms. Sobeluk,
Aye.
Dr. Bear.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Mr. Josephson, you have the rezone request for the same property.
Yes, President Decker, commissioners. And this is a request to rezone this piece of property from general industrial to agricultural. This is also the second reading. There have been no changes since the first reading. Both the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff had recommended approval in the first reading. You did vote to approve this. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Josephson. Any questions for Mr. Josephson on the rezone petition? Hearing none, this is ordinance 1795. I'd look for a motion on 1795.
I'd move to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Sobeluk,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mrs. Sobeluk,
Aye.
Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much. I believe the applicant's representative is here today, so they'll
Okay.
notify them.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you so much. It is public hearing time, and the first item up this evening on public hearing, we have a Park and Rec annual report. And Director Benjamin Ray is here to present us with the Park and Rec annual report. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Always glad to come and speak at the City Commission meeting and give you a report on what we're doing in Parks and Recreation. I gave you a written report in front of you. It's pretty comprehensive. This is something that we have never done before, but we're going to start doing each year to kind of categorize all the things that we're doing in Parks and Recreation. For the public who may be interested in that, it's also posted on our website at dickinsonparks.org. And instead of just sitting here and talking at you, I decided we'd share with you a video. So it's a couple minutes long, if you wouldn't mind, and let's go to it.
Very nice.
Thank you. Somebody was telling me recently that we needed to do a better job of telling the public what it is that what we do and what we provide to the community. So we've been making a concerted effort to get that information out to the public. One of those things is 2 years ago we applied for a national award for Parks and Recreation Excellence, and we were ranked as one of the top 5 agencies under 30,000 population in the country. We've once again applied for that award this year in 2024, and we hope to hear from that in the next month. So this video will likely have some components that if we get to that point, we will add those into that. I just wanted to hit a couple of other highlights that maybe we didn't see there in the video. And a lot of these are project-based. So at the golf course, a couple things that we did in 2023 was we updated the irrigation systems and added new private cart storage building out there at the golf course. You saw Friendship Park. We're really excited about that. If you haven't been over there, to see how busy it is, just take a drive by any sunny afternoon. We also replaced the turf at the ballpark, a couple of playground replacements at Simpson and Kostelecki parks, as well as planting almost 100 new trees. At the community center, we renovated the large slide in the leisure pool with new gel coating, also worked on the tower, stairs, and handrails. We updated the golf simulator room and added lines for pickleball in the tennis center, which if you haven't been able to over to play has been very well received. At the ice center, we added a new condensing tower, and the hockey club put in new locker rooms over in the Charbonneau Arena. One of the things that we made an effort to do in 2023 is put out a community survey, and we had over 2,000 responses to that, which will be instrumental in guiding what we do in the coming years. I just wanted to highlight, just to have on your radar, a few things that we're planning for 2024. We're going to be replacing the playground at Pleasant Valley Park. We are going to be adding a playground at the DSU Sports Complex. We're looking to do some renovation work at the DSU tennis courts, new surfacing and some sidewalks there. We received a $50,000 grant from Marathon Petroleum to do some improvements on the Crooked Crane Trail on the west end. We'll be replacing one of the Zambonis at the Ice Center. A long time coming project, we're looking to replace the bridge at hole 17 at the golf course. And then at the community center, we had some engineering come in and look at the HVAC system. We're hitting 20 years at the community center next month. Hopefully you've seen that we're going to be celebrating that coming up in about 6 weeks. But we have a little bit of work to do on the HVAC system. We're going to be focusing a lot on the leisure pool this year with surfacing, the play structure, and some other things. And just looking ahead, at the end of 2024, we'll be replacing a large portion of the cardio equipment. We do that every 5 years, and that's up for replacement at the end of this year, as well as golf carts. We'll be renewing the fleet over the winter this next coming year. So those are just a few of the things that we've got upcoming, and we really appreciate all the support that we get from the city and the city commission. And I will take any questions if you have any for me.
Thank you so much, Director Ray. Any questions? I know that every time I go over there, a place seems just a little bit busier at the rec center, and these events that happen at the local parks and sports complexes just get a little busier and busier, and it just goes to show that, you know, we're a growing community, and the need for these type of facilities is not going away. So I appreciate all the hard work you and your staff do on a daily basis, and there is a lot. You know, you start looking at this report and it shows what you guys take care of and provide for us. You know, it is no small task. So, you know, really appreciate that. And I know you guys got a lot of things coming in 2024 that will help out in the community. So thank you so much.
Mr. President, I got something
Commissioner
real
Artem?
quick. Sorry. Mr. Ray, I just want to thank you for the collaborative approach that you've got. I know that you and I and the Youth Commission have been starting to talk about some different things for things that they're interested in the community, and your just open-minded approach is really appreciated, and I think it's going to go a long way to continue the great working relationship that Parks and Rec and the city has, as well as with other entities in town. So just a great job on what you're doing. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, our next presentation this evening will be the Dickinson State University presentation. And I see President Easton and Mr. Orton are in the crowd. So, welcome.
Thank you, President Decker. For the record, my name is Steve Easton, President at Dickinson State. First of all, I want to thank the City Commission for keeping us in the loop. You know, it's been our practice to come and update you about Dickinson State about once a quarter. We did that 6-ish weeks ago. At that point, I indicated that I expected us to, at some point, formally ask for financial support of the project that I'm going to talk about today. And today is the day that I'm going to officially ask for that support. Do I run the slides? That's a very dangerous proposition, but okay. With this first slide is just a basic overview. Ty, did we distribute those folders to the commissioners? It's based upon a study that economics professors at North Dakota State University do about the impact of North Dakota University system institutions. That's where that economic impact, where those figures come from, and I believe the folder has that in more detail on the left side of the folder. I will just summarize it by saying that we are very proud to be in the city of Dickinson. We believe that we are a significant player in the city of Dickinson and a partner with the city, with the county, with Parks and Rec, and with other entities. We're specifically here today to talk about the agriculture building and arena renovation. We believe this is a quality of life project that, in addition to being a wonderful facility for Dickinson State, and we're very excited about that, of course, we also believe that this is a facility along the lines of the BAC and more recently the Sanford Sports Complex that the community has the potential for significant uses, both in terms of attraction of events and also providing recreational and educational opportunities. This is an overview of our existing facility, then the $18 million version of the project, and our hoped for $25 million version of the project. So if you look at the lightest blue in this drawing, you are looking at the existing ag building. That's the kind of irregular shaped building to the left, and the existing indoor arena. These were built in about 1980, 1981. They have been helpful facilities for Dickinson State University. We also are able to host some events in the current indoor arena, but we are very limited in the types of events we can host. Frankly, it's just not big enough to have a full rodeo and to have spectators in there at the same time. We will occasionally move bleachers in and have a very truncated space, but it's not sufficient to host a full rodeo. It's been a wonderful facility for educational purposes for our ag department. We do host an event in there every spring, Kids Day on the Farm. That's actually an event that is a student-produced event at Dickinson State. It's our agriculture club that produces that event. Other than football games, that is the single event that brings more people to Dickinson State than anything else we do on an annual basis, Kids Day on the Farm. And we think it's a really, really that event is designed. It's designed for everyone, but it's really designed for children from the city to understand that food doesn't just come from the grocery store, and to sort of give them an appreciation of agriculture, and we have petting zoos, and it's really well attended and well liked. And the problem with the existing, we have a couple problems with the existing arena. As I said, we can't host a rodeo in there with spectators. For roping events, it's really not large enough, because the horses, when you practice in there in the winter, the horses get used to stopping short of where they will stop in many instances when they get to a full-size rodeo arena, which always kind of hurts our results. The first couple of outdoor rodeos in the spring season, the horses are not quite ready to run the full distance. If you look at the slightly darker shade of blue, that rectangle, so excluding the rectangle on top, the rectangle in the I'll call it medium shade of blue, roughly speaking, is the $18 million version of our project. I should note that in the last session of the legislature generously provided an $18 million appropriation, but that includes the expectation that Dickinson State raise $900,000 in order to unlock the $17.1 million. So it will be an $18 million project, but the actual state funding of the project is $17.1 million. And as we'll see in a few moments, we're now down the tracks a fair bit on design and estimating of costs, so we know a little bit more than we did last time that we talked about what the cost of the project will be. And so that's the $18 million version of the project. If you add the rectangle on top and the entryway on the bottom, so the rectangle on the north end and the entryway on the south end, and some other features, you're at the $25 million version of the project. This is, we're going to start with the $25 million version of the project. By the way, I should note that at one point we did think the difference was $4 million, but now we've done, the difference between the two projects was $4 million, but now we've done additional work with architects and with the construction manager at risk, J.E. Dunn. And so we have a firmer view of what the costs will be. This is this slide shows two exterior views of the $25 million version of the project. Two things to notice. First, in the lower left-hand picture, you will notice that this version is entirely enclosed. As we'll see at the end when we look at the $18 million version of the project, the livestock pens in that version of the project are not enclosed. So that wall that you see to the right is nearest the football field and the BAC. So it's the furthest from State Avenue and the nearest to the football field. The building's also larger in ways that we'll look at in a moment. And you see that blue two-story area, which is an entryway, which we think would be a really wonderful community facility for assorted events. So here are some of the features of the project. Now, this is the $25 million version. At the end, I'll show you the $18 million version of the project. Either version, so one of the fundamental differences is, again, that rectangle you see now on the lower right-hand portion of this drawing. That rectangle isn't there in the $18 million version of the project. Also, the entryway, which is to the upper left, I guess you could say upper left, that becomes only a one-story entryway without the deck and the viewing options on the deck. If we can secure sufficient funds to put that entryway in, we believe it'll be a really nice addition, which I will show in the next slide. If you look at the livestock pens, which would be on the east side of the building, in the $25 million version of the building, they are enclosed within the wall on the building. And then significantly, that rectangle on the right, when it says warm-up arena, want to make sure that I'm clear about what we mean by arena. That's not a space that would ever host spectators. It might be better to call that warm-up area. In talking with rodeo experts, they have told us that if we want in our community to host events in the winter, rodeo events, that warm-up area is very significant. Because to take animals, I've learned, particularly quarter horses, not just the quarter horses that are barrel racing, but other animals, but especially the barrel racing horses, to take them from outside where it's very cold into an arena in the winter. Even though that arena it's not heated like to 70 degrees, it's more like 48-ish degrees, but that difference in temperature creates a very significant risk of injury to the animal. And so the warm-up arena is very significant for rodeo participation. Another way that it's significant, I think, for the community is if we have that warm-up area, there are many times during the class day at Dickinson State where we would use the warm-up area and the rodeo area would be available for at least the possibility of riding, recreational riding, or perhaps educational riding events. It just gives us a lot more flexibility to make a portion of the facility available to the community. What the schedule in a day would look like, we'll have to see after we determine what the building will look like. But we very much hope, and we are here requesting your support, because we'd like to have a facility that has some significant community uses. It is our intent that dirt in the competition arena be devoted to rodeo and equine events. Another thing that I've learned that I didn't know before I got into this project is that if you use that dirt for a lot of purposes, especially mechanical purposes, you end up with oil, you end up with parts of motorcycles or even bicycles, those sorts of things, and that presents a significant risk to animals, and it can limit who is willing to bring their stock in for a rodeo. So it's our intent in that surface for that to be a rodeo and equine surface. And what do I mean by equine? There are some English riding clubs in North Dakota that are looking for spaces. There are, in addition to youth rodeo, there are adults who do roping events that may not have large spectator audiences, but they would bring those individuals in on a weekend. There are, I'm sure there's a better term for this, riding and shooting type events. I apologize that I can't remember the correct name for those. But really, we're talking about rough stock for rodeos and then horse-based events. I'm sorry, yes.
Is dressage a thing in North Dakota?
I don't know.
Like that's like the formal riding?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. But again, that would be something that we would consider hosting. What we basically want is that dirt to be used for equine-based events. The exception of that, of course, is bulls. I mean, other than that, we're talking about horses being in that space. Now, the warm-up area space could be used somewhat more generally than that. Another thing that I've learned recently that I didn't know before is if you bring in, like a livestock event and you keep livestock and you have straw or hay and you feed them, the rodeo folks don't like that. It wouldn't be a problem in a warm-up area but it creates problems for the dirt in the rodeo area. So we look at if we're able to secure funding to put that rectangle, that warm-up arena rectangle, we look at that as being more multi-use space beyond just equine events. One question that you might think of is, could we ever have a concert in this space? My early research indicates that that is a possibility because you don't create nearly the same amount of risk. When I say in the space, I mean, now I'm talking about the rodeo arena space. The risks associated with a concert are significantly less than with something like a motocross type event. So that might be a possibility. At the $25 million figure, we're looking at approximately 800 seats in the bleachers. And then in that deck area, 80 seats in the, you might call it the lounge type area. If you look at the upper right here, the 80 seats would be behind the glass and approximately 40 seats in front of the glass. I'm sure everybody here has been to the BAC for events. Some of our boxes are designed this way so that the real serious football fans are in front of the glass, and the ones who are still football fans, but the social part is more important to them, are behind the glass. Same idea here, except that you're not exposing yourself quite to as much of the weather. The one on the left, upper left, shows you, if you look to the right, the 800 bleacher seats. And the one on the bottom is basically from the perspective of someone who has just entered the arena. Above Welcome to DSU Blue Hawk Arena, which probably won't end up being the name. It'll probably be something else if we can secure a donor at the naming level. That's that lounge space. That's the other side of that lounge space. Beneath it, if you look where the hawk is and you follow forward from the hawk's beak, that's concession space. Over to the right where it says Hall of Fame, we'd like that to be Hall of Fame space for DSU, Rodeo Hall of Fame, and also for local. We're also hoping to feature local rodeo athletes of significance, even if they don't have a Dickinson State connection. So we believe that the primary use that Dickinson State will make of this facility will be, and I don't mean exclusive because we'd have to, we'll work out the details of the schedule, but we see the primary use by Dickinson State as Mondays through Wednesdays, up until about 8 p.m. in the evening. Earlier in front of the county commission, I said 6, and Dr. Poland said, no, you should really say 8 because rodeo practice goes all the way until 8 p.m. on many dates. Now, that does not necessarily mean we would need both the rodeo arena and the warm-up space at the same time. We believe in many instances, one or the other of those spaces would be used by Dickinson State, and the other space would be available for some community uses. Our early experience with the Sanford Sports Complex gives us confidence and hope that with a facility like this, we will attract people here for weekend-type events. As I said, adult roping events, junior rodeo events, maybe dressage. I mean, who knows what those events might be. We've had a lot of use of the Sanford Sports Complex, not so much this year, frankly, because the weather didn't favor us this year. Last year, we had a lot of use of that complex. We even hosted a Valley City State University set of 2 doubleheaders, 4 games one weekend because they couldn't play in their facilities because they don't have an all-turf facility, and so they came to Dickinson. And that meant that Valley City's parents and supporters and presentation colleges, presence and supporters were all in Dickinson. presumably at Dickinson motels and eating in Dickinson restaurants and hopefully shopping in Dickinson stores. And we believe that there's a lot of potential for those types of events. I put 20 plus on this slide because that seemed like a reasonable number of events with significant spectators. We think in addition to that, there will be events without large numbers of spectators, like those adult roping events. And then we have the potential for, I guess I was so excited on the bottom of this slide that I put the word "the" in twice. So the potential for other events of various types. Did want to note, although this is not directly related to the request, the $2 million funding request that I am making today, I did want to note that of the $18 million project, roughly, not exactly, but roughly half of those funds are going to be used in places other than the arena. That includes some work that needs to be done outside. The BAC parking lot is held up relatively well, but it needs a little bit of work. The sidewalk that leads from the BAC parking lot to the Ag building has a significant drainage problem, so the end of that sidewalk is really a skating rink through most of the winter, and we need to get that corrected. And then we've had the pre-planning meeting with the city, and we really appreciate the officials' time on that, and talked about the hard surface that needs to be there for fire access and other issues. There's some money that needs to be spent outside. In addition to that, we're going to be spiffing up and improving the bricks and mortar of the Ag building itself, which this slide reflects. That cost is pretty well set. And so that part of the project is likely to happen regardless of whether you and others support us financially in response to this request. What's really at issue is the arena portion of the project. So this is a depiction of the $18 million version of the project. It has the old yellow siding on it because we can continue to use it. I tried to get the architects to give me a picture that showed ugly yellow siding, and they just can't bring themselves to do it. But you're looking at the existing siding. And then you will see, as I said earlier, that those stock pens, you can see it better on the bottom picture, those stock pens then become outdoor, and they're not enclosed in the arena space. They're still there, but they aren't enclosed in the arena space. This basically depicts the differences, most of the differences. You could add a couple of X's to take the 800 seats down to 600. We think at the $18 million level, we'd look at 600 seats. And then you don't get the warm-up area. You don't get the wall enclosing the livestock pens, and you don't get the two-story entryway. You get a very basic and adequate for entry, but it doesn't have event space at that number. I'm going to say one more thing, and anticipating a potential question, and maybe no one would have asked this question, but a reasonable question would be, okay, you've shown us $18 million and you've shown us $25 million. What if you end up somewhere in between? And that seems like a reasonable question. So I will tell you, at least from my perspective, what the highest priorities are between $18 million and $25 million. I believe number one is the warm-up area. I have been convinced by those who are involved in livestock and rodeo events that you really need that. If you want to have a facility that has the chance of hosting significant events in a North Dakota winter, you have to have that warm-up arena. So I would list that as the number one priority after $18 million. And I would say it would be just that box as the number one priority. Number two, I would say, is changing the siding from the ugly yellow siding to gray, campus appropriate, and it would make that portion of the city look better. Many people have said to me, please tell me you're not going to still have that ugly yellow siding after this project. And so I think that's significant to people. Number three, I think, would be, and by the way, the box without anything in it is about a $3 million, a little bit more than $3 million project, 3.2-ish addition. The siding is in the neighborhood of $700,000. Number three, I would list the wall to enclose the pens. This is a facility in a city. This is the portion of the building that is the furthest distance from the closest residential neighborhood, which is across State Avenue. And so you wouldn't see that every day if you live in that neighborhood or you go on State Avenue, but nonetheless, I think that's pretty high on the priority list to try to enclose that because we are in a city. Number four would be the deck. That facility, I think, would be a wonderful asset for our community, for our university. I think people would use it a lot. But if I have to rank them in order, I have to put it as number 4 on the list. And then number 5 would be the locker rooms and stalls we hope to put in the warm-up arena, but I would put that at the bottom of the list. Where the 200 seats go, I'm not sure. Frankly, we'd probably trying to figure a way to get it from 600 to 800 seats, somewhere in that priority ranking. That's my basic overview. I've probably missed things. Ty and Chip are probably thinking, why didn't you say this? But I've already taken up a lot of your time. We appreciate your time and your attention. Mr. Mayor, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, President Easton. Commissioners, any questions?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Orman?
what's the current locker room situation over at the sports complex right now? There are none, correct? Unless you use the BAC?
At the indoor arena?
At the sports complex.
Oh, the sports complex. There is a locker room for Dickinson State softball team. There is a somewhat smaller locker room for the Dickinson High team, and then there's a little bit of an umpire's locker room in the concession facility.
So I mean, these could be potentially utilized in the event of like soccer tournaments or softball tournaments or something like that that are being held at the sports complex as well.
Yes, and particularly, especially in the summer, right?
Yeah,
I mean, in the summer when neither Dickinson High nor Dickinson State are using them on a regular basis, which is when you would have a lot of those events, there is that possibility, yes.
If anything, to a staging area for some of the events
for sure.
in that warm-up arena. So
I do think that's an important thing to keep. A downside of our project is that it's in a city in limited space. An upside of our project is it is right next to an existing parking lot that needs a little work but doesn't need to be built from scratch. It's not far from softball parking for additional parking. And so those are assets to having a project where ours will be going.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Bear?
Sorry, John, you done?
No, go ahead.
Ms. President Easton, I got a question about accessibility of this, of the arena. The slide that shows the classrooms upstairs, I'm assuming that's up on the second floor, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, well, there's a couple of slides. We do think that this facility, which I described as a viewing deck, could also be used as a classroom, yes.
Okay. These classrooms, do they exist right now or they do not exist?
They do not.
They do not exist. So I'm assuming that an elevator would be put in.
Correct.
Allowing that these classrooms would be wheelchair accessible, allowing, I've been on the campus, this is an old campus, and many of the classrooms are not easily wheelchair accessible. This would greatly increase the accessibility of that campus.
Dr. Bear, I think that's a very important point. When you have, this project is technically a renovation, so it's not a build from scratch, but we are approaching it as we're going to have to build this with full ADA accessibility. And we think that's a benefit of this project. That's true not only here in the rodeo arena, but one of the changes that we're making in the ag building itself is to take that auditorium, that mini auditorium room, and turning it into a one-level surface. Trinity High has a, I think they call it the black box at Trinity High, and we're sort of stealing that idea because that will significantly improve our accessibility in the ag building itself.
Okay. I like that. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? I have no questions. I just comments. I think as activities go, a lot of times people question how a project this size benefits, and I think you hit it, on the head. Anytime we have an event in town, you see people in the hotels, you see people in our restaurants, you see people shopping. Just the activities lately have been reflected in our sales tax receipts. By bringing these different activities in the town, we recoup much of the money that we have invested. When you tell people that 1 cent in this town brings in more than we collect in a whole year in property tax, they find that hard to believe, but it is the truth. I mean, when we're collecting anywhere from $7 to $8 million from 1 cent sales tax, it is a big impact to us as a city. So by bringing different events to town, it helps keep these hotels open. It helps keep these restaurants open. Our biggest challenge is getting more and more people to help out, and you know that as well. And we're very thankful how the Dickinson State has co-opted with the public school system at the CTE and trying to bring programs here, so we're keeping individuals right in this town. They don't leave after they're trained, and really appreciate it. And quality of life features like this make our city that much more attractive. We get compliments all the time. We just received a compliment today, new person that has moved to town, and they made the comment about how they feel they ride their bike. I guess that's basically how they get around, and they said how clean they felt the city was, and accessible in for different events. And so we continue to work and with Park and Rec, you guys, the public school system, all entities involved, the county, to bring these quality of life features. And I do think bringing this building up to code and ADA accessibility, and then putting new siding on would be very helpful to the community. And I really think this would be a benefit. I think the challenge we don't have. I'm very supportive of your ask. I would guess ask of the university that, and I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but I'd like to have the full commission here, and I'd also like to have the ability to sit down with finance and give you a definitive answer how we could support your request. So,
Well, we appreciate the consideration. When I'm in other communities, even in North Dakota, I tell people that in Dickinson, it's when we work together, multi-agency projects, that we're not big enough, any of us on our own, to do
Right.
what we can do together. Parks and Rec, Mr. Ray was here earlier. I'm gonna, the only thing is he one-upped me with that video. Holy moly, that was an impressive video. But that's what we really want to be part of the community. That's good for Dickinson State. We think what's good for Dickinson State is good for the community. And one aspect of this project is some of the people that we would bring to Dickinson for these events might not otherwise be in Dickinson, or might not otherwise be in Dickinson as often. Some of them may also be here for a softball event, but sometimes it's different groups of people. And I want to end by saying, and I should have said this at the beginning, the city supported the Sanford Sports Complex, supported those softball fields, and this summer, at some point when the grass is up, soccer fields. We really appreciate that. We think that was a real positive for our community, and we believe this can be also.
Yeah.
So thank you for your consideration.
it's a huge growing program in this community. I mean, even adding all those soccer fields as we did, there's still going to be a challenge down the road with that program. I mean, I think we're 600 kids north of a program, and then plus, the opportunities at the high school. So,
Mr. President, I would just say, and President Easton, thank you for coming and presenting this to us tonight. One of my roles at the hospital is I give tours to prospective new employees and physicians that come through town and I always start at our history wall. And I'm going to give you guys credit over my employer. I always say that one of the reasons that Dickinson has become the community that it is because of the hospital being located and growing to the extent that it did in our community. I think the entity that gets probably a much larger share of the credit than the hospital does is Dickinson State University. Without Dickinson State University, Dickinson, North Dakota is not what it is. If you take Dickinson State out of this community, it doesn't grow to 26,000 people plus, close to 30,000 that we are today. What you guys have provided over the 100+ years that you've been in existence with the education and the professionals that you have provided to this community, I think Dickinson, like you said, thrives when we support each other. And this is an investment that will pay dividends for years and years to come. I think we get it in, like Mayor Decker said, back in sales tax receipts. Maybe not in the first year, maybe not in the second, but definitely down the line, it pays for itself. And so what can we do to help support Dickinson State and other entities in the community? And we need to think in that way, is like, what's the ROI for these different projects? Not just from a quality of life standpoint, but also from sales tax revenue and other things. But I'm very supportive of this. I hope that we can finance to the level that you're asking for, and just thank you for everything that Dickinson State does for the community.
Well, I appreciate that, Commissioner Orderman, but I would say it's all of those things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the magic of Dickinson State is proudly part of that. The hospital is part of that. A strong school system, strong parochial school systems, manufacturers. We got a lot of things that are special in Dickinson that we're really proud to be one of them. We would never claim to be the first among the equals, but we're really proud to be part of it. And we wouldn't have gotten there on the Sanford Sports Complex without the support of the city of Dickinson and its taxpayers. And so we really appreciate that, and we hope to do it again.
And before that, the BAC, and before that, the West River Community Center. I mean, we've done a really good job of investing in our community. We need to continue to do so.
and the CTE.
Yep.
And a
all-
Parks and Rec system that really is second to
yeah.
none. They're going to win that award this year.
I agree.
It really is second to none. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
your time.
Thank you. We'll move on. We have a public hearing for the Sims facility plan for the SRF loan. This will be presented by Engineering and Community Development Director Skolacek.
Good evening, Mr. President and Commission. Before you today, this will be a public hearing for the Sims facility plan related to the SRF loan. This is a requirement of the SRF loan, and not only the presentation, but also the public hearing. So to get started, previous meeting, we had the bid award for the Sims project 9th Street East to Museum Drive. Just a reminder, a refresher on this, the segment 9th Street to 10th Street, that's a mill and overlay. North of that, all the way up basically to the interstate right-of-way, is a full reconstruct, including all the underground infrastructure. Oh, the remainder of the presentation for some reason didn't make it on the agenda. I'll just keep going ahead on this. So what is fundamentally eligible within the SRF loan that we put together within this facility plan? That is the sanitary sewer and the storm sewer through the Clean Water SRF loan. The portion in red ultimately is where the sanitary and storm are going to be included. Through the state revolving fund program, that's a low interest loan. And for water and wastewater projects, it's funded through the EPA and administered by the DEQ and Public Finance Authority. There's two key categories: drinking water SRF and clean water SRF. These are 2% interest rates, interest rate loans up to 30 years duration. And the SRF project ultimately here, this qualifies for that SRF loan. With that, I guess I'll actually ask Scott Schneider if he wants to just present a little bit on some of the past projects that have been related to SRF loans, and then we'll go on to conclude the presentation. So.
Good evening, Mayor Decker and Commissioners. I think in your packets, you guys have some maps under this agenda item. Fortunately, we don't have them on the screen here tonight, but just the use of these SRF loans has been widely used in Dickinson, especially during the collection system expansion. On that map that's in your packet, everything in green there was actually built with SRF loans. The piece in yellow is what we're actually talking about in the current facility plan that Mr. Skolacek has introduced here this evening. So the piece in yellow is what we refer to as the Sim Street collection system improvements. There was a map in your agenda that had that in red with a piece of the sewer collection system in green on 10th Avenue East. That piece of the collection system has some undersized segments in it. So we had done some planning work with Public Works and Engineering several years ago on what the alternatives would be to either upgrade that 10th Avenue East system or what other alternatives exist out there. And the alternative that was developed is that red line that's referred to as the Sim Street collection system improvements. It ultimately actually eliminates 3 lift stations. One of those, lift station 11 north of I-94, actually had 2 failures in its existence, which flooded out basements in those condos on the east side of Sim Street, just north of the interstate. So that's a really problem lift station. So rather than doing full upgrades to that lift station, this alternative was developed to actually eliminate that lift station and then utilize lift station 18, which is a newer one, just south of that, for several years until that lift station can be further in the future eliminated. So this facility plan addresses that, documents what you need to for actually utilizing a loan for the portion of the Sim Street project that's going to be constructed this year. That's, I guess, the piece of the presentation that Mr. Skolacek and I talked about presenting today. The last piece of that is the stormwater improvements that I think there's some pictures in your agenda that Josh will touch base on, and I can help answer any questions as well.
So related to the stormwater improvements along the reconstruction route, basically all the way from 10th all the way up to the interstate right-of-way, there'll be brand-new stormwater or storm sewer installed throughout that route. The outfall is identified in your presentation just north of Foster Drive. In this case, we'll be adding in stormwater improvements and additional inlets at the intersection of Museum Drive and Sims, which has historically had a series of challenges with flooding. So those inlets will ultimately mitigate that risk, especially for the smaller intensity or lower intensity storms. But also then we're going to extend that storm sewer up further to the north, and then where we have some existing drainage challenges related to the museum, related to the law enforcement center and the National Guard facility, we'll be tying in stubs into those individual parcels that the city owns for basically to the right-of-way limits, with the intent that we'll be able to resolve some of those on-site drainage challenges. These stubs that we're tying in, it's been in collaboration with the folks working on the museum, the design team, and then just looking at what other challenges we have throughout that LEC area and the National Guard facilities. So the open channel downstream of the outfall area that'll actually be constructed or reconstructed or basically cleaned out and whatnot with Public Works staff throughout this summer. So, and then we did a stormwater study on this piping and whatnot. This will not actually change the overall flow rate going into that channel. So that was one of the critical design components that we had as we worked through this project. So with that being said, there's a resolution in your packet, and stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Skolacek. Any questions before I open the public hearing, commissioners?
I do have one question.
Okay.
So this project that we're talking about here, we're already opening up Sims, and so this would be like we do this in coordination with the project that we're doing now, so we wouldn't have to open the road up again in the near future.
Yeah, this SRF loan is just a funding source for the storm and sanitary, but all of that was a part of that bid that was approved a couple meetings ago.
Okay.
So
So this is just the SRF loan portion?
Yep, just the
Okay,
SRF
thank
loan.
you.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna try at best to keep the pain down of opening roads up and that's heavily trafficked, road. So, but it needs work, so we're gonna have to do it, and hopefully the public understands. I mean, that whole Sims area needs to be worked on down to Ballard. So, any other comments or questions? Not, I'll open up the public hearing. And this is Resolution 20-2024. This is for a clean water SRF loan. And if you have any questions or concerns about this project on Sims, please come forward, state your name, and let us know your concerns on the Sims facility plan for an SRF loan. If you're watching online, 701-456-7006. Anyone from the public? Anyone from the public have any concerns on this construction project and this SRF loan for Sims and 9th Street East to Museum Drive? Seeing no one has any concerns or questions, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, any further discussion? There is no discussion or questions on Resolution 20-2024. I would look for a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Oderman.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Mrs. Sobeluk?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. The end of this public hearing. Now we have public comments on items not on the agenda. If you wish to come forward, please state your name. Let us know if you have any concerns that are not on the agenda. Anyone from the public?
Got to practice on this thing more. But, My name is Dean Kluver with Dean Kluver and Son Painting here in Dickinson. I'm actually the son part, not the Dean part of that. And it's actually here to propose 2 ideas to the city and the commission itself. First of which is through the PCA, which is the Painting Contractor Association. That program is called Paint It Forward. With that, city leaders as well as the community as a whole can nominate individuals as well as key places or just buildings within the community that needs certain infrastructure or basically like a RECO to paint maybe the yellow at DSU, get that switched out. But as an opportunity just essentially to rejuvenate the local community in the aspect that tourism or people that are traveling through notice certain locations or see the revitalization to these structures and just kind of win them over a little bit. But in that regard, we're just looking at the possibility as far as you guys, the steps we may be able to take in regards to any funding as far as the purchase of paint. On our side, we'd be taking care of it. It's all the other painting contractors here in Dickinson as well as around the community. We've had people all the way out in Beach that are willing to help, but essentially it's just to help with the process in starting that to where, you know, the mall, DSU, even just somebody's mom and dad that needs revitalization in the community.
Where's the Paint It Forward program run out of?
Run out of?
Yeah, where is
Well,
it?
it's through the association, so it's all across America. The most recent one was in Florida. They just repainted, I believe it was a 40,000 square foot facility. It was a children's cancer center, kind of like a Make-A-Wish theme park. So they go there and, yeah. And the second of which is also for homes that are going to be demolished. In that regard, it's an idea that we kind of had where we do a charity run, certain charities, and the easiest one that comes to mind is like breast cancer. Breast cancer awareness is pink for their color. And certain homes are going to be demolished anyways. We kind of do a run to see which charity would win. And if the color associated with that charity, we would paint that home in its entirety that color. Same thing, it doesn't cost much. I mean, about a couple $100 in paint. The whole home could be painted pink. One thing, it again leads to tourism. People swing by and see an entire home that's painted top to bottom pink, or the color associated to those certain programs. But as well, it just kind of gives a lot of knowledge to certain people because we could bring on the CT Center with the kids, teach about the trades, teach about the application process, things that means, since the building is going to get torn down anyways. It's not aggressive, it's not invasive at all, it's not going to knock down the building. We haven't had a home tip over yet with paint, so, yeah.
Well, I think that's something we can talk about during the budget session to see if we can support something like that.
Yep.
So.
And again, I don't know the process again, I was just looking
Okay.
for more so constructive criticism or a start for
Nope,
those.
nope, that's, I mean, we're always open to different things in town, so
Oh, yeah.
thank you for bringing that forward.
Oh, for sure, thank you.
Yep. Anyone else from the public have any items they wish to discuss that were not on the agenda or on the agenda this evening? Again, if you're watching online, 701-456-7006. Anyone from the public? Seeing no one from the public has any further comments this evening, we will move back to the regular agenda. And the first item on the regular agenda that we have not gotten to yet is the 2024 sidewalk program. And this will be presented by Engineering and Community Development Director Skolacek.
Good evening, Mr. President, Commission. For your consideration is a resolution 2024-05-1 for the 2024 Sidewalk Improvement District. This resolution is to create a sidewalk improvement district for the city of Dickinson and authorizing the improvements and assessments as a voluntary funding option for all citizens. The SID is payable over a 10-year period of time at an interest rate of 5.9%, which is what we've been doing on other special improvement districts that we've done earlier this year. Special assessments paid in full by October 1st, 2025 will not be charged interest, and no penalty would be levied for paying the special assessments early. This mechanism has been used in the past and would allow citizens to make improvements to their sidewalks, curb and gutters, and driveways that are within the city street right-of-way. And again, this is a voluntary special assessment process. but the special assessment cost would go against their or their parcel property taxes. Let's see.
And just to stress, it is a voluntary program.
It's a voluntary program.
So you can,
The funding program is
Right.
voluntary,
Yes.
not the sidewalk program.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is, if this is opposed to the districts that we set up. This is just
Yeah.
the, you know,
So, Mr. President, the question I would have, and sorry if, Mr. Sklasicek, you could finish your presentation, and then I've got a question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this would then authorize us to move ahead, to move forward with a bid for this project, and then that bid would be awarded, and then that contractor would be assigned to this 2024 sidewalk program, similar to what we've done in the past.
So, my question is, are we financing this?
The city is financing.
But, okay, but like, are we getting a loan to finance this project?
We're-
Are we gonna be paying interest of any kind? I've asked this for 4 years, and I feel like I've never really gotten like what I would consider a satisfactory answer. Why 5.9%? Is that just because that's like a market rate that we came up with?
I can answer that, Commissioner Oderman. That rate was established before I was here, but the rate was established on whatever the 10-year bill was at for the prime rate, plus 1.5%. That's something that was passed by a commission before.
Sure.
That was stated that that's how they would figure what it would be. And as you know, interest rates have not changed, so we did not change on that part of it. But I look up at the 10-year Treasury bill, find out what that rate's at, and then we add 1.5 on that.
Because I just struggle if if people are in a position where their sidewalk is beat up to the point where it's got to be fixed. I understand, I'm supportive of our sidewalk program, but why the additional 1%? That to me, that just it adds insult to injury. Like we're telling them, you've got to fix your sidewalk. This is how much it costs. For some people, it's a significant cost that is going to be a hardship for them. And then we say, oh, by the way, we'll help you pay for it by spreading it out over a 10-year period, but you're going to have to pay 5.9% interest on that. So not only are we forcing you to do it, we're forcing you to pay interest if you can't afford it.
In this specific case, it is voluntary, so it's just a funding option. So if there would be a call-based, if the citizen calls and says, hey, I would like to get my sidewalk done. I don't really want to go through the effort of contacting a contractor and trying to, run all of those hoops, as well as I don't want to fund it myself right now. This would be that funding option to just put against their property taxes.
And I know for a lot of people, 1%, maybe that's not a big deal, but why not 4.9%? Why the 1% markup?
I guess we've historically just followed the resolution from I think 2019.
I would suggest, Commissioner Erdeman, that I guess if you feel so strongly about it, we could discuss that and change it.
I'd like to.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that at a future meeting.
Well, we have our retreat coming up at the end of the month, and I think that's maybe one of the topics that can be addressed.
Yeah, because I can understand it being market rate because we are helping finance this stuff, but we just I don't know. To me it's insult to injury, but yeah.
No, I think it'd be something to bring up, good topic to bring up.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Sorry to take
right.
us down a rabbit hole there. But.
One note, I do want to make a correction in the staff memo, and in what I verbally stated earlier, and I'm not sure why, but ultimately the assessments paid in full by October 1st, 2024 would not be charged the interest or penalty if paid before that date. I stated 2025 earlier, so I apologize for the error.
okay, thank you. Again, this is resolution 2024-05-1. So I'd look for a motion if there are no further questions.
So the current rate is dictated by current city policy, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Bear?
is this something we could table until we have our little retreat and then bring this back and actually discuss this before we actually vote on this? Because I agree with Commissioner Oderman on this, and and I know I've been on here for 2 of the years, and he's hammered this pretty hard, and I think we could work something out that would be better for the citizens. So
Well, I
can we
think
just
we'd have
table
enough,
this?
we'd have enough to approve it and adjust the rate. I think we can
Oh, yeah.
adjust the rate at any time. We're self-funding this, so we can adjust the rate, and that rate, we could even make it retroactive to other, items, so. But, I mean, that's the discussion we need to have. so.
And I think that's the core of the discussion I want to have, is like, if we are self-funding this, if we aren't actually going and financing this through like a bonding process in any way, shape, or form, why would we even charge an interest rate?
And in the
I
past.
understand there's administrative costs and stuff like that, but like, I think
Yeah.
just we need to have a better conversation.
And in the
about
past, the
that.
interest rate was very low.
Yeah.
So prior projects, prior specials, the rate was nowhere near 5.9.
Yeah.
I think we were in the.
It was like 3 point something
twos,
before,
right?
yeah.
Twos and threes? Yeah, at one point. So when interest rates were 1% and 2%, so we may probably even, the discussion there probably doesn't need to be anything retroactive because those people are very low now.
Mhm.
So.
Sure.
Past projects, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I think we can take care of this and still.
We can make adjustments.
Yeah,
after the
make
fact.
adjustments.
Yeah.
So. Any other questions, commissioners? Now I look for a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve pending that future discussion.
We have a motion to approve this resolution with future discussion on interest rate by Commissioner Oderman.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Sobeluk. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Ms. Sobeluk?
Aye.
Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Mr. Skolacek, you have the East Broadway Dam Agreement.
Good evening again, Mr. President, Commission. Before you in your packet is a grant contract with the State of North Dakota Water Commission to fund a portion of the engineering services as a cost share of 75%, not to exceed the specified amount in the contract, which is listed as $106,908. This contract was something that was presented at a previous Water Commission meeting, and ultimately then we just received the contract information. So with that, I recommend approval. Legal staff has reviewed the contract, and we do have a 60-day time window on it, so there's somewhat of a short duration for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Skolacek. Any questions on this dam modification agreement? Hearing none, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Mrs. Sobeluk?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Mr. Skolacek, you have the monthly engineering and community development report.
Good evening, Mr. President, again, and Commission. Before you is the Engineering and Community Development Monthly Report. As HR Director Nominick mentioned earlier, so we did have a new hire that actually just started yesterday as the engineering tech, and Waylon's doing a great job so far, so we're excited to have him on board. Then with the project engineer position, we did we've got that one as the offer, and waiting on the signed offer back right now. So excited to eventually fill that position. On the planning side, so continue to make efforts on the transportation master plan and comprehensive plan update. And we'll be working kind of towards that public engagement phase of the project. We'll also be working with other agencies in the area who have done public engagement surveys in recent time. Example being from Park and Rec Department. They had done a public engagement survey last summer. Goal, it would be to gather their data and incorporate that into this plan, as well as it was brought to my attention recently that the Youth Commission is working on a public engagement survey kind of targeted toward high school students. And so we'd like to gather that data as well and incorporate that into our public engagement information. Overall, new development applications are continuing, but at a slightly slower pace than what we've seen earlier in the year. So nice to catch just a little bit of a breath as we work through those applications. Building and codes continue to see good activity level on the building side. We have it broken down specifically what's within city limits, and then those that are in Stark County as we perform those building inspection services throughout the county as well. And ultimately, this data was pulled as of March 13th. So engineering, those projects that are listed under into execution. So got a number of projects, bid awards that recently completed, and then some carryovers from last year. We just actually finally got the Legacy Square parking lot, the final, the actual light fixture portions mounted on the poles. So we'll be working on closing out that project. And then we do have a kickoff meeting on the Sundance Cove's lighting. Get that going here fairly soon. And then ultimately, all the different projects that are kind of in the design or preliminary engineering phase, a whole host of different things. Some notable ones, I guess. Ultimately, a number of design contracts that have been awarded recently. 2025 water main and road maintenance projects. So that's exciting to get those started this early in the year. The 10th Avenue East, the southern segment from Villard up to Museum Drive, we have a field walk and everything scheduled here later on this week. And continue to make progress on that project. 10th Avenue East, Museum Drive to 21st Street East, we have a field walk scheduled for a couple weeks from now. And so any specific questions you guys may have on that, happy to answer any.
No, I just invite everyone tomorrow. There is an open house at the fire station starting at 7 a.m. I think it goes 7 a.m. to 10. Yes, sir. Yep, 7 a.m. 10. That is one of the projects up there. There Patterson Lake improvements, even though it shows 0, they're continuing discussion with the Bureau of Reclamation. It's the federal government, so we work at their pace. So not quite 0, but it's not much more. So
the main reason I show that one as 0 is we don't have the grant application hasn't been submitted, and ultimately, we anticipate or we're optimistic for approval on that. So once that would ultimately begin, or if we'd get that award, then we can kind of really actually move into a project level component there. Right. So,
any other questions on any of the engineering projects, commissioners?
Geographical information system. So our final LiDAR and imagery, that's all. We've had some training and whatnot, and then working through some of the change related components and whatnot, and then updated some information in the parcel attributes. so that the new assessing database all jives and works together. And then some new utility attributes and whatnot, and then continue to work with Public Works on their Brightly software. So with that being said, any questions on the monthly report?
Any questions for Mr. Skolacek on the engineering report? It's nice to see that there's some houses being built, so got to keep that up. Keep encouraging people to put up some residential places, because I know they're in big demand in town. So, anything else, commissioners, for community development? Well, thank you so much. End of the night, commissioners, anything that you want to bring up before we adjourn?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Bear?
I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank the Girl Scout Troop 86-710. Their second-year cadets come in and leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I also want to make a shout out there to Baker Boy and their gracious donation for the donuts this morning, for coffee and donuts with yourself and us commissioners. You know, they're very supportive and committed to our community, and I really appreciate what they did for us. So I just want to say thank you.
Yep. And, you know, if donuts are the driving factor, there'll be the donuts tomorrow morning again, so. But yes, thank you so much for all our community partners that help support our activities. So, anything else, commissioners? All right, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
We are adjourned.